Hi everyone, this is Josh Fisher. I'm the Director of Product Management for the Retail Edition here at Acumatica. Today I want to talk with you about some new features for the Retail Edition in 2024 R1. So I know that there's going to be people that are watching this and it could be their first time, their first introduction to Acumatica. So today I'm going to start off just talking about our Retail Edition and our Commerce connectors. I also want to talk about some of those new features, like importing products from BigCommerce and Shopify into Acumatica, the new features that support Shopify POS exchanges. I want to talk through our Amazon connector, and then I want to leave you with a handful of other features built into the other editions that are absolutely going to benefit retailers and commerce merchants. So let's start off talking about the Retail Edition and the Commerce connectors. In case you're new to this, I just want to give you an introduction. So Acumatica has a Retail Edition, and that Retail Edition is designed for retailers. It could be traditional retailers that have been selling in-store for decades. It could also be for digital native brands that have only ever sold products online. What we mean when we say retail is we're focused on businesses that sell to consumers. And it really doesn't matter to us how you sell. You could sell on e-commerce systems, marketplaces, in-store. You could be a multi-channel seller. What we're really focused on when we say retail, we're focused on those businesses that are selling to consumers. We want to offer you a solution that's going to help you manage and optimize your back office. But it's not just retailers that benefit from these features. These commerce connectors are available to any Acumatica customer. So if you're a manufacturer and you're interested in selling online, or you're a wholesaler or distributor and you're interested in selling in one of these modern channels, you can use those connector solutions with your edition of Acumatica. Like I said, the Retail Edition, we're primarily focused on those consumer-facing merchants, but we spend a lot of time thinking about how these other industries are using these solutions as well. We even have customers on the Construction Edition that are selling products online. And it's not just the consumer-oriented sales. We also cover B2B functionality. And what we're seeing is a lot of merchants are now selling to multiple different audience types. So it's very common for us to see merchants that are, let's say 80% direct-to-consumer, but then the other 20% of their business is now B2B, and they're managing all the relationships with those buyers through those digital channels. Now, Acumatica offers native integrations to Amazon, Shopify, Shopify POS, and BigCommerce. And when I say that these are native integrations, that doesn't mean that they are simply connectors. We do far more than simply getting these systems connected. We've been interviewing merchants for years to understand all the challenges that they face, and we're adding out-of-the-box features to help them get their business as automated as possible, as quickly as possible. Okay, let's talk about these features that allow users to import products from BigCommerce and Shopify. Now, this is something that's come up quite a bit, especially with digital native brands. Again, when I say digital native brands, I'm talking about those companies that have been selling products online for years, and that's the only place they've been selling them. They're not focused on physical stores or big box retailers. They're just selling products online. And the brands that do this, they know technology really well, and they know how to integrate systems with all the connectors that are out there. And what I found is they want everything to be thoroughly analyzed. They want the engineering to be strong, and they want data to flow seamlessly between these systems. So in the past, when they would come and analyze Acumatica, a lot of times we get that question, can we import our products into Acumatica? And of course the answer was yes. You can essentially export all your products from your e-commerce platform into a CSV file, and then you can take that CSV file and use an import scenario in Acumatica that would import the products, and then you run a sync, and Acumatica is going to find the products in the e-commerce system and establish a synchronization between the two. And we would explain this, and the feedback we got was a CSV file? Seriously, is this like 1995? We want to just be able to click a button and for our products to land inside of Acumatica. So that's what we've done. We've built this new feature that allows you to click that button, and the products that are inside your e-commerce platform today, either BigCommerce or Shopify, will be imported into Acumatica as inventory items. And I'm going to talk you through some of the new features that we've added to make this possible. So first of all, in the actual connector configurations, you'll see associated with the stock item sync, the non-stock item sync, and the template item sync. When I say template item, I'm talking about products with variants, like t-shirts. They come in many sizes and colors. You can control the sync direction. So in the past, you could just export products from Acumatica to Shopify BigCommerce. That would establish a sync if you already had products out there. But now we also offer a bi-directional sync and the import sync. So if you just want to import products from your external system, maybe that external system is where your entire marketing team manages information about the products, and you just want to constantly be importing information from e-commerce into Acumatica, you can do that now. And then you can also use a bi-directional sync where information can be changed in either system, and then during the sync process, whatever system has not been changed will receive the update from the other system. Now, when you're doing a bi-directional sync, of course, you need to tell the system which of these two systems is primary, right? Imagine a situation where your marketing team changes a product title inside of, let's say, Shopify, and then at the same time, your inventory manager inside of Acumatica just changed the item title. Well, now you have a conflict, because the next time the system syncs, it's not going to know, which of these updates do I believe? And as you can see in this screenshot on the right, you're able to set which is the primary system. So which system wins that battle, right? So these are some of the new settings that are inside the connector configurations. In addition to this, when you look in the actual inventory settings of the connectors, you're going to find a handful of new fields. You can set the inventory numbering sequence and the numbering template, and you're also able to assign how the system should handle item classes. Whenever you're importing these products from the external system, how are we going to assign the item classes to these products inside of Acumatica? Now let's talk through those in a little bit more detail. So first of all, when you're importing the SKUs, how are we going to handle the inventory IDs inside of Acumatica? We have a couple different options. The one thing to keep in mind is neither BigCommerce or Shopify require a SKU to exist. So you can certainly create products in those systems and not even have a SKU. And Acumatica is going to want you to have a SKU. That inventory ID is really important. So we had to think through, how are we going to handle these different scenarios? Well, there's two different options for this particular configuration. First, you can just leave these fields blank, right? If you know all of my e-commerce items have SKUs associated with them, and I want to maintain those SKUs, well, you can leave those fields blank, and then the system will import those products and just inherit the SKU from the e-commerce platform. The other option is to set up a numbering sequence with a numbering template. And really what that means is you're just going to set a default standard for how to assign an inventory ID to these items. So in this case, as you can see on the left here, we have a Shopify item with the inventory ID. Because this is so similar between Shopify and BigCommerce, I'm just using one picture here. But basically, I'm just showing that you can import those inventory IDs directly. So we have KiwiJam 08 inside the e-commerce platform. That's going to import into Acumatica as the same KiwiJam 08. And of course, the other option is to just use that numbering sequence where it doesn't matter what your e-commerce system is. Whenever you pull that into Acumatica, you're going to use the numbering sequence. In this case, our numbering sequence looks like it has EC for e-commerce 00495, and that's just part of the sequence, right? The nice thing though is inside that same inventory item, in the cross references tab, we're still going to store the external SKU for you. So that's really good for you to just to have that backup inside the system. Now let's talk about mapping the product types to the item classes. Now inside of Acumatica, item classes are very important. It's essentially like a taxonomy or a categorization of the different products, and they can have parent-child relationships. So you can have a item class with sub-item classes inside of it. And what's really important in Acumatica is when you have an item class, there's so many default settings that you can assign to those items. So anything inside of an item class, it might have specific customer-specific pricing, or maybe these items are exempt from taxes. When you pull those different products in from the external system, it's really important to get them assigned to the appropriate item classes, because that's something you're going to rely on inside Acumatica quite a bit. And there's 3 different ways to handle these different item classes. So first, in Shopify, you can add what's called a product type on all of your different inventory items. And if you have a product type inside of Shopify, and that same exact product type exists inside of Acumatica as an item class, well then in that case they'll just sync seamlessly. The system will bring in the Shopify item, it'll look for that product type inside the item classes. When it finds it, it's going to say, okay, this is the item class that they're working with here. Okay. Another thing you can do is use substitution lists. I'll talk about that in more detail in a second. And then finally, you can also use default item classes. So in the case of default item classes, we're basically going to pull these items in, and then we're going to assign them to either this stock item class or a non-stock item class. You can see them listed here inside the red box. Now, I just want to point out with BigCommerce doesn't have the concept of a product type inside their system. So there's no way for us to know which item class should this be assigned to. So in BigCommerce, you're always going to be using number 3 here, the default item class. So let's talk through these for a minute. So let's imagine you're in Shopify, you have a product type of jam, and then inside of Acumatica, you also have an item class named jam. In that case, whenever you import these items, the jam product type is going to find the jam item class, and it's just going to sync. Work is done, right? It's not case sensitive. You don't have to worry about that. You just want to make sure that the names are the same. And of course, if by chance, let's say 90% of your products have a matching product type to an item class, but that other 10% does not, in that case, it's just going to fall back to the default that you have set. And then we also have substitution lists. So if you're new to Acumatica, let me explain what a substitution list is. It's basically a feature, it's a standard feature inside of Acumatica that allows you to associate some external term or some external name with a Acumatica name or term. Okay, so let's say for instance you have a again using that jam, the Kiwi jam as an example. Let's just imagine that inside of Shopify you've called this product type jam, but then inside of Acumatica you have an item class just called food, and you know, hey, all that stuff that's called jam inside of Shopify, I really just need it inside the food item class inside of Acumatica. In that case, you can use that substitution list to associate jam with food, and then anytime those items are coming in, the system will look for product type. If it can't find the product type, it's going to look at substitution lists, say, hey, have they already configured this? Yes, they have. Jam equals food in Acumatica. Well, let's go ahead and assign the food item class to it. And then of course, the last feature is the default item classes. So in this case, like I said before, you can just tell the system every item that comes in, just use this item class. This is how it's going to work with all the different BigCommerce items that are coming in. And you can use the more advanced configurations with Shopify, but of course this will be what it falls back to if it can't find what it's looking for. Now in 24R1, we now support exchanges that happen inside of Shopify POS. Now, exchanges is something that we're all familiar with, right? We're all consumers. Imagine, you bought a pair of pants in a store, you take them home, and maybe the pair of pants they don't match the shoes that you were planning to wear with the pants, and you realize you need a different color. Or maybe you bought one size because that's the size that you always buy, but actually you've lost a little bit of weight and you need a size smaller, right? In this case, you're going to do what anybody would do. You would take those pants back to the retail store and you would say, hey, love the pants, but I need a new color or I need a new size. And in that case, what the retailer is going to do is they're going to take those pants from you and basically accept those pants back into their inventory. And then you're going to go find the appropriate pair of pants, either the new color or the new size, and they're just going to exchange those pants for the ones that you brought back into the store. So there's typically not a transaction that happens. Sometimes there are transactions that happen. We'll talk through those. But for the most case, it's just an exchange. But from a back office perspective, actually there's quite a bit that's happening. Here's an inventory item that is coming back into your inventory, right? So you have to accept that inventory in. At the same time, you have this inventory item that is now leaving the store, and you have to account for that as well. Otherwise, your inventory levels are going to get off, and then that can lead to other challenges. Now, Shopify, they started supporting exchanges inside the POS relatively recently, and we had to wait until they had some API endpoints that were available so that we could hook into those exchanges, which they're available now, and as soon as they released them, we got to work and started supporting them. So let's talk through the simple changes. Most of this, the magic is all in the background. There's a few new changes, though, that I want to walk you through. So first of all, this new support system, it handles all the different exchange scenarios. The example that I just shared, you would imagine that if you're bringing those pants in and you're going to take new pants of a different size or color, it's going to be the same price, right? So in that case, you're simply exchanging one item for another item. However, in some cases, maybe you come in with your pants and the ones that have the color that you're looking for, they are a different brand, so the price is different. In some cases, the price is going to be slightly higher, so the customer has to pay more money to the retailer. Or maybe they're a lesser price, so the retailer is then refunding some money back to the customer in order to establish this exchange. Just to be clear, we support all of these different scenarios. So there's only 2 new fields added to the connector in order to support this system. So inside your Shopify Commerce Connector Order Settings tab, right there where you configure your different point of sale orders. In the past, we had the order type for import of a direct cash and carry, and we also had the order type for import for essentially buy in store, ship to my house, that kind of scenario. We've added these 2 new fields for how to handle exchanges for those 2 order types. So let me talk those through. When a customer comes into the store, they find the item that they want, they buy the item and they leave. We call that cash and carry. That's going to be this direct POS order type. And if that were to happen and the customer needs to exchange things, they're going to use this order type for exchange return order type inside of Acumatica. It's actually going to rely on the mixed order template. Okay. Now, in the case of where a customer comes into the store, they find what they need, but exactly what they need is not in the store, so they're going to have that item shipped to their house. That's what we call this shipped POS order. Okay, and in that case, if somebody brings a product in and they exchange it, we're going to use a standard return for credit order type. Once these 2 new order types are added to the configuration, you're ready to start supporting POS exchanges in Shopify. Now let's talk through the Amazon connector. Acumatica has had a native integration with Amazon for a while now, but it's been in what we call managed availability. Really, all that means is that our engineers have been involved in every one of those implementations to make sure that, number one, our native integration to Amazon does the things that our customers need, and working directly with customers, it gave us an opportunity to fine-tune the system and make it a smoother and more automated tool for these merchants. Every single Amazon merchant that we spoke with had very similar challenges. In the beginning, we thought that these merchants were going to want to export all their product information like titles and descriptions and so on out to Amazon. But that's not what we learned. When we talked to these Amazon merchants, they helped us understand that all of their challenges were really around accounting. Things like reconciling statements, understanding the Amazon fees, truly understanding their profitability on the products that they sold on Amazon. These were the problems that merchants were facing, and these were the kinds of challenges that they wanted us to solve with our solution. And that's what we've done. Now, I mentioned it was in managed availability in the past. Now, with 24R1, the Amazon connector is included in Acumatica's core. Okay, so what I want to do today is I want to talk through all the features and functionality that is included with the Amazon connector. We won't get into everything, but the highlights, the things that I'm frequently asked about. First of all, let's talk through what is connected between the two systems. So, number one, we're covering Amazon FBA and FBM. Those acronyms, they stand for Fulfilled by Amazon and Fulfilled by Merchant. They're the two different ways that you can sell on Amazon. The first thing is we're linking products. So Acumatica is going to go out to the merchant's Amazon account, and it's going to scan through all the different inventory items. It's going to find those what are called ASINs, ASIN numbers. These are similar to SKUs. It's going to find those ASINs and then match them to inventory IDs inside of Acumatica. And that is going to establish a link. The reason that that's important is because those products that are being sold via FBM, the ones that the merchants have to fulfill, with that link, you're able to export your product availability from Acumatica out to Amazon. So now, whenever merchants are selling products on Amazon along with other online marketplaces and e-commerce sites, you're able to consistently be sending inventory levels out to Amazon so that you know that your inventory levels are accurate. Of course, we're importing FBA orders and FBM orders. When the merchant is fulfilling the orders, of course, you're going to have a shipment with a tracking number, and we're sending that information back to Amazon. We're pulling the Amazon payments into Acumatica, and we're also pulling in the Amazon fees. That includes order-related fees and non-order-related fees. Plus, we've added a lot of features that will encrypt customer data and protect the customer PII. PII stands for Personal Identifiable Information. Now, the Amazon connector today, it supports merchants that are in the US, Canada, Mexico, and the UK. We're in the final stages of wrapping up the UK right now. But really, the Amazon connector, it'll work with any region that Amazon supports. It's just that we need to work with customers selling in those regions so that we can test the functionality out. Amazon doesn't offer any test environments or dev environments, and they don't give us access to environments in these different regions. So we need to work with customers so we can understand the intricate details of how taxes are handled and how other specific use cases are handled in those different regions. But if you're a merchant that's not using Acumatica today, or maybe you are using Acumatica and you want to connect to Amazon and you're selling in one of those other regions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We can work with you on that. Okay, so let's talk through the details of the connector itself. So first, we have an app on the Amazon Seller Partner App Store. Basically, this is where all the apps are that extend Amazon Seller Central. You can see the URL here and the QR code. You can use those to get directly to our App Store listing, and that App Store listing is where you initiate the connection between Amazon and Acumatica. Once you click the Connect Now button, you're going to be prompted with a window where you log into the ERP and establish the connection through a technology called OAuth. Once that's been established, then inside of Acumatica, you'll find your Amazon store. And inside the Amazon store, that's where you're going to configure all your default settings. Now, this is standard. If you've been through an implementation with our Shopify connector or BigCommerce connector before, you're going to feel very familiar with these windows. If you're not familiar with those windows, let me explain. So our connectors, all of our connectors, are built on the same framework, which means that the windows and the features that are used in order to establish these connections are very similar. And you can set these different configurations on a per store level. So for instance, maybe you're selling on Shopify and you actually have 20 different Shopify sites. Well, each one of those Shopify sites can be configured uniquely. The same is true with Amazon. So we have merchants that sell in multiple different regions, and they may need unique configurations for each of those different regions. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is turn on the entities that you need. The entities are the data points that are syncing between the two systems. As you can see here, you have the product linking, which I explained a minute ago, product availability, that's sending your inventory levels out to Amazon for FBM items. Your sales orders, they represent the FBM orders that are coming in, as well as marketplace fulfilled orders. These are the Amazon fulfilled orders, FBA orders. You have the payments entity. This is going to include the fees. And then there's a new entity for non-order related fees. And we also have shipments. So each of these entities is its own unique entity. So you could turn on half of these and leave the others off if that was appropriate for you. You also have the ability to adjust the sync direction and the primary system, the ERP or Amazon itself. Now, what you see in this screenshot is just how we have our demo environment configured. If it was appropriate for you, you could change some of these settings. Now, let's talk about the order settings. So one thing I want to point out is FBA orders and FBM orders, they're two different concepts. So really, if you're selling an item via FBA, Amazon's going to take care of all the fulfillment for you. There's no work for you to do, but you do need to record that order as an invoice inside the system. So those marketplace fulfilled orders are going to be associated with a sales order type of using the invoice template, okay? And the FBM orders, they're just like standard orders, just like orders coming from any other online sales channel or even orders that you're putting into the ERP over the phone. Those are going to be sales orders of a standard sales order type. And you can set up a unique order type specifically for Amazon if you want. Now the next thing is setting up your Amazon inventory warehouse. So when you send all of your inventory to Amazon, they hold on to it to you. And if you sell on Amazon, you know it's very common for them to move a fraction of your inventory to a different warehouse. Sometimes your inventory disappears for a few days and then it comes back. But there's also cases where, you know, inventory gets damaged or lost, right? So what we've done is we allow you to set up a virtual warehouse inside of Acumatica, and that's where your inventory goes that represents the inventory being held by Amazon. And as orders come in, as those FBA orders come in, you're going to decrement that virtual warehouse's inventory levels. Then whenever you get statements from Amazon that says, we have X number of items in stock, you can match that up with what's in your virtual warehouse. And if there's a discrepancy, you know that there's either a challenge that you need to take care of, or it's maybe one of those instances where they're moving your inventory around. It's just not available for sale right now. But these features are going to help you reconcile your FBA inventory. Additionally, when you're selling FBM items, you might offer gift wrapping services, or maybe you offer expedited shipping. These are line items that can be sold that are going to be associated with non-stock items inside the ERP, and you can configure the system to map those different services to those non-stock items here inside the order settings window. Now let's talk about the payment settings. So as I mentioned before, not only are we pulling in the payments from Amazon, but we're also pulling in all the order and non-order related fees. And when we pull those fees into Acumatica, we allow you to map each of the different fees to entry types inside of the general ledger. Amazon has over, the last time I checked, it was over 35 different fees that they charge to their merchants. And it may be really important for you to understand where you're spending a lot of money on these different fees. For instance, maybe you're getting hit with a lot of storage charges, or maybe some of your items are odd size and Amazon's charging you extra. Well, by being able to map these to entry types, you can pull reports to understand where your money's really going. Not only that, you have a good understanding of where Amazon's charging you for each of these different sales. Now, just in summary, we have different settings for FBA orders and FBM orders. Like I mentioned, gift wrapping is supported for FBM. Also, there's the merchant shipping that's supported. I didn't mention before, but we also support Amazon Buy Shipping. So Amazon offers a service where they will allow you to use shipping labels that they produce. Because Amazon's huge, they're getting really good deals on the shipping. That information will pass into Acumatica so that you can produce those labels on your FBM items. And then if a customer purchases, let's say, expedited shipping, that additional information is going to flow in and map to the appropriate ship vias inside the ERP. We already talked about the virtual warehouses that are being set up so you can reconcile your FBA inventory levels. And if the customer happens to choose some unique shipping service through Amazon, that information can be mapped to the appropriate fields inside of Acumatica for you to keep track. Now we'll go into more detail about the PII. That's the personal identifiable information related to buyers. I have a section about that we'll go into in a second. Amazon payments and fees are coming in. All of these orders are being associated with generic customers inside of the system. That's really to help protect customer data. And if desired, merchants can import tax information with all their orders and invoices. Some merchants we found decide not to do that. Most of them do. It's up to you. It's just a configuration setting inside the system. Now let's go into detail about protecting customer information. So Amazon's really strict about making sure that their merchants don't store and hold on to customer information. If you're selling FBM items, obviously shipping information is going to come into your system, which is going to give you access to what's called PII, or personal identifiable information. And Amazon, they only want you to hold on to that information so that you can print the label and ship the item, ship the box. After that, they expect you to get rid of this information. Okay, so how are we doing this? First of all Amazon customers are represented by one customer record inside the ERP. When the FBM orders are coming in, you can see the address information so that you can fulfill the order and you can print the labels and so on. And the standard Amazon default record is going to be overridden with the appropriate shipping information, as you'd expect. So we've added a new window inside the Commerce Connector called the Protect Personal Data window. This is going to list out all of the sales orders and invoices that are ready to be protected. So all the information like the customer address and so on can be pseudonymized by running an automated process. Additionally, in the future, if there's an invoice where you need to restore the customer information, you can use this window and change the action to restore, and you can revert that process. You can also delete records from inside this window as well. Next, let's talk about the Amazon statement reconciliation process. So, of everything that we added to the Amazon connector, the one thing that we heard from every single merchant was that reconciling Amazon statements is a major pain. We heard from some customers that they had to manually reconcile every one of those Amazon statements, and some merchants are processing, tens of thousands or even 100,000 or more orders per month. So whenever they went through the reconciliation process, it could take multiple people, multiple days. And the number one thing that was important to them was that we build features that would automate as much of that process as possible. Fortunately, that's what we've accomplished. So I want to walk you through how that's done. So today, you still have to download the CSV file from Seller Central. So you're going to log into Seller Central, go to your reports, and download the statement as a CSV file. Eventually, we're going to automate this so it'll automatically sync through the API. Once you have that CSV file, you're ready to import it into Acumatica. So what we've done is we've built what's called an import scenario inside of Acumatica. Really what that is a tool that will accept the CSV into the ERP, and it'll go through all the data in that CSV, and it'll transform the data as needed in order for it to be pushed into what's called the bank feeds feature. Once you've used the import scenario to import the CSV file, you're ready to move on. That Amazon statement is going to populate inside of the bank feeds feature. Really, the bank feeds feature is built so that you can reconcile information that's inside the ERP against information that you have outside the ERP. For instance, bank statements, or in this case, Amazon statements. We have an auto match feature, and that auto match feature is going to go through all of your records in the ERP and all of the lines in the Amazon statement, and it's going to do its best to reconcile all of those lines, right? And our hope is that it's going to do all of the lines for you. We've added some features to Acumatica to fine-tune the algorithm to your specific needs. Now, the auto match feature, it's built with a really sophisticated algorithm, but of course, some merchants may want to fine-tune it specifically for their needs, and you have the ability to do that inside the transaction matching settings window in Acumatica. Then, if the system goes through the statement and the records inside the ERP and it does find a discrepancy, it's going to alert you to that discrepancy, and then you can step in and take manual action. Now, like I said before, we want to see this reconcile 100% of the statement for you. But imagine there could be a legitimate problem in the statement that needs your manual intervention, right? So if there's something wrong and, for instance, Amazon believes that they owe you less money than you believe, you can then investigate that challenge and figure out what the discrepancy is based on, and then you can take action on it. If there's a discrepancy that is a legitimate challenge, like maybe there's a fee that's new and it's not recorded inside the ERP the way that you would expect, that's simply handled by clicking the match button. Once you confirm that there is a match for this specific line in the statement, you just click that match button and process it, and then the system will take care of it for you. Ultimately, what we've heard from merchants that are using this today is what used to take multiple people, multiple days, now takes minutes or hours in order to complete this process. I felt like that was a really big win. Okay, so that's all the time I have for the Amazon connector today. But in closing, I want to tell you about some of the other features that are being added to Acumatica that could benefit you as a retailer or a merchant. For instance, the Distribution Edition is now adding distribution requirements planning solutions. These are powerful tools for satisfying supply and demand and optimizing your inventory levels. There's also customer returns enhancements that have been added to the Distribution Edition, and the warehouse management system has some new enhancements. And if you happen to manufacture your own goods, you're going to be interested in some of the new parallel operations reporting and other MRP enhancements that have been added. So those videos are going to be available as well. As I mentioned before, it doesn't matter which edition of Acumatica you're using, you can be using these commerce connectors with those solutions. Really appreciate you joining me today. Hope you're as excited about 24R1 as I am. If you have any questions or if there's something I touched on today that you'd like more information on, my email is right there on the slide, so don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'll be happy to help. Thanks so much.